Okay, so we're gonna play a couple things first, and y'all start thinking of questions. One, two, three.
Thank you very much. Now this continues to just be so fun. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Rise up, blinking in the sun, wrapped in invisible white, like something beautiful is gonna come out from underneath our thumbs. Let freedom vibrate, not breathe. We can listen to everyone. Wanna hear ourselves sing. My, oh my, what a wonderful day we're having. We're having. Why, oh why are we looking for a way outside here? Outside here. I see the green grass below. I feel the warmth of the screen. Easy, beautiful, maybe so. If it keeps us singing, my, oh my, what a wonderful day we're having. We're having. better treat me right. I'll eat up all of your cotton, sleep in your Granville tonight. Farmer, you don't need no Ford machine. I'll eat up all of your cotton, can't buy no gasoline. Yonder comes a spider, crawling up and down the wall. He must have been going to get his ashes hauled. I don't see the water, but I'm about to drown. I don't see no fire, but I'm burning down. Thanks very much. So those are three different looks at the kind of thing we're trying to do. We'd love for this. So really, this one and the one to follow it. This is how to play with others. Ooh. Also, how to ring out a large diaphragm condenser microphone. Ooh. See, already better. Thank you, Cinco. This and the next one, this is how to play with others. The next one is how to sing with others. Really, we'd love for it to be an opportunity to just kind of have a dialogue with y'all. This one sort of instrumentally focused, the next one vocally focused. So we'd really love at this point to just, and it can be, honestly, it can be questions just about anything. We really honestly just want to get a dialogue going with y'all if you have any questions about anything. Yeah. Right there, yes. How's it going?
I'm going to ask a question that I've really wanted to ask since the first time I saw you, and that is, to what extent do you use sheet music?
Oh.
And that's to say, when your arrangements, how much is composed versus how much is improvised?
Well, so we can start with that first tune.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Well, I think it may be a little misleading to suggest that the composed stuff has to be written down, because what we do a lot of the time now is just kind of sit in a circle and compose, and very little of it ever really gets written down at all. When we first got together, the reason we got together was to work out this piece, The Blind Leading the Blind, that Chris wrote. A lot of that was written down just because it was quicker to send that all to us and for us to come as prepared as we could be.
Right, we weren't really a band yet.
We weren't even a band yet, so I was like, here's this music that I hope that we can play one day. But even that was, it would be a section of composed stuff and then a chord chart. And it would say guitar solo here. And then, if somebody had a composed line that should start sometime during the guitar solo, then that was written out. It would say, okay, fiddle starts doing this, and then.
But if a reading ensemble had just gone through that score and read it down, there would be massive blank chunks.
Yeah.
Or like all of a sudden there'd be like one written part that was just going, and that would be it.
Yeah.
But like, so for instance, we started with a tune called "No More Yet." That's a recent thing. Oh,
It's glaring, so yeah.
there's kind of a costume change going on.
Yeah,
right now.
exactly. So, no, hold on. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm too distracted. This is awesome. Oh, okay.
It's a little bit more so you look at a little bit more of an academic error with the
Yeah,
glasses.
exactly. I've lost all my authority.
But the first thing we played is called "No More Yet," and it was part of the Phosphorescent Blues sessions for us, and didn't actually make the record, but we liked it, so it made the EP. And that tune, for instance, is there's actually very little improvising going on over the course of that entire tune. In fact, kind of none.
There's no improvising.
Yeah, there's no improvising. So that basically goes down the same way every time. I mean, there might be strumming patterns that vary slightly, but not necessarily intentionally. And but there was a part, so we composed that together. And there was a part of it where we decided, hey, we basically decided I would go write like a little counterpoint climax thing after this section. Let's play it from the. Oh, sorry, Chris.
It's all right.
So that was Critter taking his low E string down to D, changing its entire identity. It's now an E string that identifies as a D string.
Very timely.
We're actually going to try this with
Should we
you
switch?
here and
Let's-
you. No,
there we
you
go.
got it.
This is that might be.
Maybe we should write things down.
So, so taking it from here, I'll nod at you when we get to the written section.
From where?
Let's do it from where the
The big one?
where the
All right.
Frenchy section gets loud.
Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Here we go. Ready? Unwritten. So that's a section that we decided we wanted to try and get pretty contrapuntal and like contrapuntal in a considered way. There's was it Hartford called it country counterpoint? when you just kind of all start doing stuff that's not actually searching for unison or straight harmony in thirds or whatever. But in that case, we wanted it to just reach this kind of ornate climax, and so we ended up just writing all that down. Nice question.
I think you called it accidental counterpoint.
Accidental counterpoint.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
As if someone, slipped on like the ice and accidentally wrote a 4-piece chorale as a result of it.
Which happens. Yeah, man.
Is there anything in common with your approach to music as Punch Brothers that might distinguish you from other superb musicians?
I like that kind of question. Oh, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think any more than distinguishes anyone from anyone else, right?
yeah, I mean, I think it's so individual, and of course one doesn't know. I guess when we as a band come in contact with other with other bands and watching the ways in which they interact, but I don't know. Yeah, again, like Gab was just saying, the ways in which they interact are no more different than just human beings, and no less different than the way that human beings are different from each other. So I think, and I mean, the ways in which they are just innumerable. You know, the way that we place a note, like on a grid of where notes can be placed. For instance, like people, in time. So like, if you think of time in a song as like being on a grid, and so like if it were on a computer, it would be, you know, quote unquote perfect, right? But the way the myriad places that you can put a note on that grid and it sound cool. You know, in fact, perfect ends up sounding, you know, well, like the radio. And if you like that kind of thing, then great. But, you know, you could do that. You just need a program. But, you know, the way that that something like hit the first little bit of On the Bound, that Fiona thing. You know, sorry, Chris. The nice thing is that that's a change that's easily undone. So if now it's starting to identify as an E string again, it was just as simple as that.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2. F minor. Example of like something on the grid in time where placement is pretty far back. So if you were like going tick, 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 we're like consistently placing behind a constant, and like in our case often as a band, the constant will be the mandolin, like where I'll try and place as close to metronomic on a grid as I can, so that the boys can kind of, you know, lay back on something to make it swampy, like in that case. And that would also be an example of a difference, like the way that this guy John Bryan, who's a buddy of ours, he produced that track. It's a Fiona Apple song off her second record, and he produced that track. Like, I'm sure had a conversation with the musicians or something, you know, like, hey, pretty far back on this one, y'all. And this drummer, incredible drummer, Matt Chamberlain, who has infinite control, is one of the greatest ever, infinite control over placement as far as my experience of him. Like, you could ask Matt to play it metronomically and he would, you know, or you could ask him to lay it back like on that track. But so the boys and I, but I'm sure John Bryan had a conversation with those guys of like, hey, place it back. And we listened to the song and I very quickly identify it as like a different rhythmic MO than, you know, the MO that we grew up with, which is bluegrass. With bluegrass, it's the opposite. Let's play a little, I don't know, like some breakdance or. Yeah, Little Girl Mine. So, and straight to the chorus. than a boat of Tennessee. So that's obviously a different spot on the old grid. It's all pushing.
leaning way ahead.
It's
on
absolutely, and if you hear bluegrass, there was this band came along, the Lonesome River Band, and they cut everything to a click. They were one of the first to do it. They would cut separately to a click and build a track that way. And it was
Explain what that means.
oh, so a click track, like when you put the metronome on. So when you're in the studio, sometimes, and the vast majority of music you would hear on the radio, if it's performed by humans at all, it's performed to a click track. So you would have headphones on, in which that's going on, and you play, and that's kind of how it feels.
More ice picky.
Yeah. I just don't. So, and you would basically kind of play as close to that as humanly possible, and then afterwards, an engineer might actually nudge things that you've played around so that it sounds more like a computer. And but this band, Lonesome River Band, did that on their records, and it was actually cool. It was a cool sound, but it's very, very different than the traditional bluegrass groove, which is definitely forward-leaning. I mean, if you listen to Monroe or Earl Scruggs, I mean, these guys, they placed ahead, and it feels great. It doesn't feel like it's rushing. It's just exciting. It's bright. The way that like Jascha Heifetz, for instance, the great Russian violin virtuoso, would play both ahead and sharp on purpose. And it sounds amazing. It's incredible. It just ends up sounding brilliant because it's not like so consistently sharp that you're going, oh. It's just a little bit north, and it's very exciting. And he played ahead of the orchestra and just above the orchestra, ever so slightly. It was a very exciting sound. And same with the bluegrass ensemble. Contrary to the last feel we talked about, with the bluegrass ensemble, there's not actually like a constant. Everyone is leaning forward a little bit, and most of the great bluegrass tracks that you'll hear, if you play them at the end and then go back to the beginning, it'll be much slower, but it just happens, infinitesimally over time, and it just feels exciting, feels great. A great track that we've studied a lot, the thing that we played with Bela last night, the first song of the second half. How many people were here for it? Oh, awesome. So that song, Sea Rock City, the original recording, which is fantastic. I mean, it's a titan in the field. It's something that people reference. This groove is incredible. That song, I mean, probably 10 BPM faster at the end than it is at the beginning, and you'd never notice. It just feels great. And so to talk about the differences, like that is one aspect of being a musician that could be different, and the changes it could yield that's mighty, and that is one tiny facet of something that could differentiate you approach-wise from another musician.
Yeah, I think the thing that was so great about this group getting together is that the sound we make is just the natural consequence of the five of us playing together. If you were to switch out someone, it would take on a different feel just for that exact reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's natural in certain contexts. Like if we play a bluegrass song, we don't really have to discuss like feel or approach. But if we're venturing into something that's not necessarily the music we cut our teeth on when we were first starting, there'll be a constant discussion of like where do we all sit in the groove? Where is like what's the design of this song? Like when we've covered like D'Angelo or Fiona Apple, like it's not that we can just show up and everybody can just play their role. There's always a conversation as far as the way the band should feel it as a unit and what the various parts would
And that's when that's when observing those differences becomes crucial in the communication process. So you start making oral references and going, no, more like this, and then play like a track of with like Chris Daves and Pino Palladino, where they're doing that thing where someone's kind of like keeping time, and then other people are playing way back on purpose. And so we'll study something like that. So then it's in our bag of tricks if we want it to be. Yeah.
So we've heard you guys cover a lot of songs. I'm wondering what was the most radical cover that you guys have done that you kind of made sound like your own?
Kid A would be. Yeah, Wayside is a huge difference, but it's not stylistically not the biggest, I don't think.
Kid A is pretty different.
Kid A. Let's play a little bit of that. So this is like a thing. Kid A, which is the title track from Radiohead's. I always count their records from the Bends because that's where I feel like it got epic. So it's the fourth. Yeah, so it went Pablo Honey, Benz, OK Computer, and then Kid A came out and was pretty intense. Maybe even a more, the most radical departure I think was from the Benz to OK Computer, but OK Computer to Kid A was interesting in that they really fully embraced computers and synthesizers and things like that. And this song was, almost completely sort of blips and bloops, which, but just in the hands of masters. And often the reason we end up going into something like that or covering something is because it's not something that we would do naturally, but it's something that we love and wish to understand better. And again, like the idea that you would kind of be purchasing a tool for your toolkit as you go in to write your own material. And the best way to do that, the best way to thoroughly understand something is to learn it to the point where you can perform it and deliver it for people. And often the covers that we select will only see the light of day in the concert hall and not on record. That we feel like we can actually maybe draw a parallel for someone, like they can actually serve as ambassadors for us as a group at times, like saying, hey, kind of like this, only different. And Clementine or we've used Radiohead songs for that in the past. We covered D'Angelo's One Mo' Gin, and but we only really we'll only actually take a cover to the record if we feel like in the process of learning and trying to embody the spirit of creativity that resulted in that song, only in that, when we feel like that process has yielded something new that's different from the original creation, then we might actually subject you to it on record. And in this case, we felt like it ended up being different.
But interestingly, it's an exact transcription.
Yeah.
We play all
We
the
didn't add
parts
anything.
exactly. We didn't add anything, and we barely took anything away. So it's not as if for this song we were improvising or trying to fundamentally change it. It was just the act of adapting them onto these instruments and playing them, with the inevitable feel differences, the slight things that shifted, made it feel worthy enough for it to live on the record.
Yeah. Try it? Yeah. Great. We'll do this side. What do you got?
I was at Wintergrass and heard, I think, 3 of you maybe in like solo or other bands, and was wondering how important that is to all of you to do other things than just with.
Yeah, I'd say it's very important. Punch Brothers is a real, at this point, it's a real home for all of us. I mean, we've been doing this for 10 and a half years, and it really feels like a home of sorts. But it's really important, I think, to depart because the band, as great as as much as we all love it, there are aspects of all of our musical personalities that don't get to be expressed the same way in the band, or there's certain things that are good in one context but maybe not in Punch Brothers. And so I feel like going and doing other things, and also just having the exposure to other musicians and getting to work with other people, it's just kind of like going to the well and kind of recharging your batteries. And I think it's a really healthy and necessary thing for all of us, right? Does that seem?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This band was kind of formed in part because of me and my bandmates in Nickel Creek feeling like we didn't have enough time to pursue other interests, and I think we've tried to prevent this project from becoming so so time consuming that it limits our, development as well-rounded musicians. And although we've definitely been in danger of it getting a little too consuming, certainly like for us, the push behind our record, Who's Feeling Young Now, left everyone feeling pretty dry, and so we took some time away, and now kind of feel like once get a new body of work out there, in the form of a record, generally speaking, that once we do our best to kind of introduce it to people and hopefully give it a chance to work its way into the fabric of people's lives, that it's good to step away from the band and do some other things, see other people, and then come back appreciating each other all the more as a result. Yeah.
One of the things that really strikes me about you guys is that a lot of, when I'm listening to your songs, a lot of stuff comes really out of the blue, right? Like there are really dissonant notes or chords that you wouldn't expect. And so my question is, to what extent is that what you're hearing in your head when you're writing a song? And to what extent is it you're all together and someone says, hey, why don't we play with that a little bit and get us, a more interesting sound?
Yeah. Yes.
It's a lot of both.
Yeah.
I mean, one kind of encourages the other and vice versa. So it's a really fun back and forth.
There's a microcosm of that in the second thing that we did in My Oh My. Like so sometimes I would say that like the contrast, like a high contrast gesture is actually like encoded into the DNA of a song
idea,
starter.
yeah.
Like it's actually part of the initial move. And like so the song My Oh My has one even in the thing that started it, which was this. Which was actually an onstage joke.
Right.
That I told you guys. Basically, we were in Charleston
Sound checking somewhere. Right?
sound checking, and it was the whole gig. We booked the gig so that we could write in Charleston for a week.
Oh yeah.
Which was really, really fun. And actually, a lot of things on the last record started in that house in Charleston. But I was just on stage, and to me, this is the silliest thing in the whole world. Because it basically combines, this is a Monroe lick. Like what's a classic? We used it also kind of tongue-in-cheek on Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground. It was not in Jack White's song, but we kind of used it as this, when he and Meg just go, I didn't feel so bad to this. When all of us are doing that, it doesn't sound the same as when Jack's just doing that, like. So we went, I didn't feel so bad. So it was already kind of kicking around in our band vernacular. And then the idea of just like a Frankensteinian mashup of that and like, like sort of a whatever poppy, hooky thing. And so I was on the stage and I was just like, and we all kind of chuckled, and then we also kind of all went, that's kind of cool. And so like in that case, you've got the main part, the tune turned into kind of this, swampy, like if we play the main groove. Just do the first verse, or the second verse. So, I see the green grass below. I feel the warmth of the screen. Is it beautiful? Every now, baby, so. What if it keeps you singing? My, oh my, what a wonderful day very high contrast sections, but they are actually encoded into like this first mover gesture. So the idea behind like a very high contrast moment is hopefully that there's this sense of like the rug being pulled out from under you, but that then, you know, the rug puller outer has actually provided a very soft cushion for you to land on, and you can end up, as opposed, you know, first there's like the betrayal, no, wait, what? And then you like land, and it's like, oh, that was more fun than just continuing to stand. That's the idea. I think great. That's how I feel about it. You know, it's like, you know, to me, most, for instance, I don't mean to continue to pick on the radio, but it is awful. No, sorry. That's not true. There's lots of wonderful stuff on the radio right now. There really is. But like.
Program companion.
But the lion's share of what I hear on commercial radio, regardless of genre, is a whole lot of just continuing to stand normally. You're on the rug, and the rug is under your feet, and it feels nice, and you just stand there as long as you want, and nothing's really going to happen. And that's how that music sounds to me. And I'm personally far more interested in like standing and everything, and like all of a sudden, what? And then someone going, whoosh, and you're like, whoa, like a roller coaster. And so, but of course, the problem is that you can't just pull the rug out from someone. I mean, that's easy to do. Like finding high contrast that's super easy. But what's difficult is making the high contrast seem inevitable in retrospect. That basically that a need has been met that you didn't know you had until afterwards. Essentially, kind of subversively creating an expectation and meeting that expectation, which amounts to hopefully expectations being exceeded. And the issue that we have, I think, in today's music culture en masse is with musicians and music lovers alike being more interested in meeting expectations than exceeding them, and I think that's kind of resulted in a fairly homogeneous and conventional set of new tunes.
Hey, show them finish on how we got the second part out of that lick.
So, you know, that's in the main song, and it makes the verse, which is just C. Like you can hear that in that lick, but then the chorus is actually derived from the back half of it, just following the pattern down. So, right, which is the back end of that verse. So then, we just kind of exploded that thing. And that came before that melody did. And it ultimately ends up being a background part. I mean, just like a texture part. It's not something that your ear gravitates to, but it did actually give birth to the thing that you end up paying attention to. Yeah, sir.
Here or there?
I
have a question actually for either Chris or Noel. My question is, in terms of playing together, when you're doing an up-tempo number, do you ever worry that one of the other band members, doesn't matter which one, might be so into it that they might sort of bump into your elbow or bump into the neck of your instrument and throw you off?
Which one?
Is it directed to Critter or me because we have the longest necked instruments, or just because we seem to be the most stable people on stage? I think, you know, the choreography is definitely part of the the show, especially when we're doing a single mic performance. I think we're first and foremost thinking about how to mix ourselves, like how close do we each need to be for various sections so that the music is being communicated effectively. And I think there are, some logistical considerations for as far as how we stand on stage. Like, I think we're always mindful of that stuff. There are instances when we're playing, like in the heat of the moment, that you just have to be watching each other. Like, you can't be on stage and kind of assuming a position where you kind of feel like, well, this is my 4-foot radius circle, and if someone steps into it, it's at their own peril. Like, I know there are definitely times that I've had to kind of jump out of the way, because if I hadn't, I would have been, knocked over, or my banjo would have been knocked over, out of tune. And so it's not like, I don't think Critter and I ever fear for our own, well-being on stage for those reasons.
I don't know.
Well, do you?
Dealing with the bow there.
That's right. I don't know. There are definitely some
close calls
some
there.
bruises. There are some bruises on our instruments from collisions on stage, but it's just kind of, you have to watch each other. Sometimes when you're in your own little land, like, I think the greatest thing about being on one microphone is you're forced to focus in and listen with your ears, like, and kind of have a laser beam focus on whatever the primary material is at that moment. Like, depending on where you're at in the song, we're each keying off of something that may be different than what was happening before in the song. And so in this situation, we're just forced to focus intensely, whereas like in a show where everybody's in their own stations wearing headphones, there is the risk of people kind of wandering off into their own land. So this is vastly preferable for me, at least.
Yeah, I think that just brings up a broader point of, I guess this thing's called how to play with others. And I would say that the most important thing that you can cultivate is a sense of awareness and overall awareness about what's going on at every level, So yeah, bumping into someone is definitely something to be aware of, but just being able to listen, both focused in on something specific and to the overall picture. And that's a skill that develops over time. And I think the first thing you have to do is to get proficient enough on your own instrument so that you're not just totally focused on that the entire time. Right. You can always tell when someone's not comfortable because they're, the listening to anyone else is secondary. So getting comfortable doing that and then being able to.
Just like in politics.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. That's so important. It's like, I think, the most important thing.
Let's play another one. Let's play
Yeah.
Movement. Cool.
What's that?
Let's play Movement.
Okay.
This song is actually, this is a good example of, so like, for instance, us learning that Radiohead song is an effort to kind of hopefully absorb some of what those guys do when they create something, because we felt like somehow it was relevant to what we were trying to do. So this is an example of something we wrote, maybe with that as something of an influence. maybe a couple last questions back there in the back. Yes, you. Yes.
I guess it's for all of you. How do you structure environments or sessions for maybe casual or novice musicians to learn and improvise together?
That is a great question. Well, I mean, the first thing is just make sure you really like the people that you're asking to be in those environments. Because it's it's incredibly exposing. You have to.
You have to trust the people that
You really have to trust people. You're opening yourself up to all kinds of pain. You have to be okay with being vulnerable, and so you simply have to really love the people that you're doing that with. Because if everyone isn't sort of equally vulnerable and conversely supportive and comforting.
But that being said, I think there are a lot of places where that already exists. I feel like a lot, because all your friends, like let's say you want to start a bluegrass band, odds are, and this is like a new hobby of yours, odds are like your 5 best friends aren't also going to start like picking up bluegrass instruments. So there are things that exist. There are like jam sessions where everybody's kind of in the same boat. And an amazing thing to me is that I've found that everybody really is pretty cool. Like people are rooting for you, and if you it's very rare that people are actively judgmental or anything like that. But if you kind of get in a room with other beginners, I don't know if you're curating like a jam session or something like that, or just looking to start playing with people. But for anybody who is looking to start playing, I mean, there are local jams. And those things can be really cool because everybody's kind of in the same boat, and it's a fun thing. And part of what's so neat about bluegrass, particularly, is that there's such a familial scene. Like we all kind of grew up in different ways, but we grew up. This is something that we did with our families at like festivals, and there's this whole community aspect that we got to enjoy the fruits of. Growing up, but that's there's a lot of lovely community kind of around music always. So that's
and
a cool
another thing you'll find is that there'll be a lot of people at the same level, but there'll be variations. So some people will be a little bit better at it. Some people will still will be extreme beginners. But if you're around, hopefully you'll be around somebody who's a little bit more proficient at it, and they can just to get to see that. In person, close up, and get to try and interact and try and participate on that level will help you greatly to try, to develop that skill more. That's the way we all did it at a festival. The main stage shuts down, and then there's jamming in the campground, and you may be jamming with someone who's been playing guitar for 2 days, and then someone like Byron Berline, who is the 3-time national fiddle champion, and everyone's standing in a circle and playing, and you're going, wow. This is cool, and you listen, and you go, okay, that's how they do that. Okay, I can kind of see what they're doing. I'm gonna try and do that.
I also think there's a lot of work that can be done kind of on your own time to prepare for those situations. Like that's kind of one of the most common questions is like, how do you become a better improviser? How do you teach yourself to improvise? And bluegrass isn't free jazz. Like when you're improvising in the context of a bluegrass ensemble, it's fairly compartmentalized in the sense that like you have your turn, like you're passing a song around. It's like, okay, here's your A, B, B part, and then you're passing around to the next guitar player. And so a lot of that improvising is like you have a platform, you're playing above the band, as opposed to like a group improvisation section where it's all contingent on responding to the various musicians. So you could do a lot of homework to prepare for those contexts to kind of lower the stakes for when you're in an environment at a bluegrass jam. And what I say to people is that improvising is essentially composing in real time, and you need to be able to compose or write a variation for a song with time frozen. If you can't sit down with the metronome off and kind of find your way around a song, then how can you put that pressure on yourself to go do it in front of people when the song's 150 beats a minute? And so when I was trying to learn how to improvise, I'd take fiddle tunes or banjo tunes and just try to come up with as many variations as possible at home. Like whether I would write them out or not, like sometimes it was just noodling around the fretboard, trying to figure out ways to play around those songs. And if you come up with 5 variations for a song like Whiskey Before Breakfast, a fiddle tune in D, all of those variations and that you've come up with, each little piece of material is relevant for every other song that you're playing. You can extract these things, and it's once you amass this toolbox of musical information and melodies and the ability to create that in real time, then it doesn't seem so daunting that it's, how am I going to compose note by note in real time with a band going. And so I just advocate, like, improvise with time frozen at home when there's no pressure. Like, create that, and then you'll have the toolbox to do it.
Totally. Y'all were out of time. Thank you so much for coming to this. This will be a total non sequitur, but we wanted to play this song and have yet to find.
We'll improvise it. We'll improvise one for you right now.
Yeah, that's true. No, total sequitur, not a non sequitur. That's the end. Group improv. Just listen real good.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. That was really fun, you guys. Great questions. Thank you very much for being here. Anything like just kind of improvising sort of a French style,
Like 1890s, sort of?
Yeah, in the 1890s, 1900s.
Okay, cool. All right, cool.
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
Kind of like maybe like an F sharp minor.
Perfect.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Time signature.
How about you two guys come up with something?
Okay,
Start it.
okay.
Yeah. Just anything. I'll count it off. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's cool. I'll take it.
Thank
you very much. Hey, thank you guys so much for being here, fellas. Thank you very much. Noam Pikelny on the banjo. Paul Cohen on the bass. Chris Eldridge on the guitar. Gabe Witcher on the fiddle.
And that's Chris Neely.
Some singing up next, y'all.